Okay, Baruch Hashem, as we continue and come to the completion, Be'ezat Hashem, of this volume, of volume 21 in Tzurba in our Hilchot Shabbat, and tonight, Be'ezat Hashem, being our 72nd shir in the Tzurba Hilchot Shabbat series, and being our 36th shir of this year, 36, perhaps double chai. Let us start today with a little bit of a review of what we've been learning up until this point in the Hilchot Refuah. So when we first started this Hilchot Refuah, we were introduced to what we call in halacha a chola sheyesh boi sakana, or better known as pikuach nefesh, that this individual has a life and death threatening situation. And what we came out in that topic was that everybody is allowed to do whatever is needed to save this individual's life. Even melachot of Shabbat, not even, but yes, melachot of Shabbat. Whatever is needed for that individual. We saw the Maggid Mishnah and we saw the Yalkut Yosef, who holds like that even if it wouldn't make a life and death difference for the patient, but since the patient is a chol sheyesh b'o sakana, and if it's somewhat needed, like perhaps we said, lifting and lowering the hospital bed, okay? The patient wants to be higher up, wants to be lower down, right? It's a chol sheyesh b'o sakana, and there's a need for that. Turning on the light, turning off the light. A person would be allowed to do that for a person who's a chol sheyesh b'o sakana. We've mentioned when we were learning that topic that it is the job of the Rabbanim of a community to make it clear that everybody should know that when it comes to Pekuach Nefesh, you don't start asking questions. You don't say, I'm going to do it with the Shinui. You do whatever is needed to do in order to save that individual. Unless whatever you do wouldn't change if I did it with the Shinui or not, right? Then you can do it with the Shinui. But otherwise, if you're not sure, do it the regular way. That was, in a nutshell, the chola sheyesh b'o sakana. Then we were introduced to another topic in Hilchot Refuah, which was a chola she'ein b'o sakana, a sick person who doesn't have a sakana. But before we got into that, we mentioned about a sakanas aver. So a person who has a risk of limb loss, of losing a limb. And you remember the Gemara that talked about the eye, right? And the Gemara there said you're allowed to do everything because the eye is connected to the heart. And there was a machlokes rishonim of the Rosh and the Tosafot. How do you view this? Is it just the eye is connected to the heart, and that's why you're allowed to do whatever you need to do in order to protect the heart? Or is it like Tosafot says that every limb is connected to the whole body? And we said that today, right, brought down from the Nishmat Avram, and the Nishmat Avram said that today we know there is no such thing as a sakanas ever shaloi krucha gam b'sakanas kol guf. You never have a sakana of an aver that doesn't affect the whole body. As such, practically speaking, if anyone is at danger of limb loss, it's treated as a pikuach nefesh, and whatever needs to get done gets done for that patient. Then we went ahead and we learned about the chola she'ein b'o sakana. When it came to the chola she'ein b'o sakana, we defined it as two things. A, someone who is bedridden. He can't get out of bed. We also defined it as someone who forces himself out of bed. He should be in bed, but he has pain and everything all over. He is also a chola she'ein b'o sakana, meaning he's not on the verge of life and death, but he's very sick. Okay, what can be done in such a case? We saw in such a case, one can tell a guy what to do. That's what we saw. Based on that, now telling a guy what to do is a derabanan. It's a shvut, right? The Rabbanan said you can't tell it. Amir l'nachar, you can't do that. So, but now that we saw, we could tell a guy, can a Jew, let's say there is no guy, can a Jew do something for the chol she'ein bo sakana? That's where we had the four-way machloket, right? If you want to take a look with me on page 362 in the review, on page 362, we had the Rashba. The Rashba said anything that's the Rabbanon, you were allowed to do for a chol she'ein bo sakana. It's someone who's sick. Any of the Rabbanans you're allowed to do. The Ran said, no, you may not do any rabbinic prohibition, right? And the difference was that the Ran held that maybe just saying words to the guy is okay, but and even though it's the Rabbanan, but doing something that's the Rabbanan, doing a Maaseh of the Rabbanan might be a bigger issue. And the Rashba is on the understanding, if I'm doing a Rabbanan by telling a guy, I can do any of the Rabbanan. So that's why he holds that. And that's an idea we gave. And the Ramban, and this is the way the halacha goes. So Nachmanides, the Ramban says like follows. He says the only way you can do derabbanans, right, for a chola she'ein bo sakana is by doing it with a shinui, right? So now it's a shinui and it's a derabbanan. Putting that together, it would be permissible to do malacha, a derabbanan malacha, with a shinui for a chola she'ein bo sakana. The Rambam is a little bit different of a shita. The Rambam held that anything that looked like a malacha, whether it's derabanan, whether it's deraita, right? Any deraita for sure not, but even derabanans that look like a deraita, would not be allowed. Halacha, we said it's like the Ramban. If you can do the rabbanan with the shinoi, it is mutter. But then we saw from the Chai Adam and the Mishnah Berurah that they said yes, you should use the shinoi when dealing with the chol she'ein bo sakana. But let's say I can't for whatever reason. This specific thing that I have to do cannot be done in a shinoi fashion. So the Chai Adam Mishnah Berurah said you could do it without a shinoi. Remember, you have the Rashba that allows to do the Rabbanans for chol she'ein bo sakana. Then we had the Eglei Tal and the Shulchan Aruch Harav, who came up with even a bigger chiddush. They said, what does it mean to do a malacha deoraita with the shinoi? What's the category now? If I do a malacha deoraita with the shinoi, it is now derabanan. And if I'm allowed to do a derabanan for a chol she'ein bo sakana, I should be allowed to do deoraita with the shinoi. Now it's a derabanan, and I can do a derabanan for chol she'ein bo sakana. So we saw that. Mishnah Berurah was not happy with that. Mishnah Berurah said he can't rely on that. But we saw from the Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata, and we saw from Chacham Abad Yosef that what? In situations where it is needed, there's no guy available, and you have to do for this chol she'ein bo sakana a deoraita malacha, one would be allowed to do it with a shinui, this way knocking it down to the Rabbana, and this way the Rabbana, chol she'ein bo sakana, and you have what to rely on. So that is what we talked about, a chol she'ein bo sakana. Fine. The other thing we talked about when we talked about chol she'ein bo sakana, we talked about minors, kitanim. Okay, so when you come to minors, what is a katan look at? Is it considered a healthy individual, or is a katan looked at as a chol she'ein bo sakana? So we saw that Chacham ben Zion Abba Shaul held any katan who's a girl under 12 and a boy under 13 is considered chol she'ein bo sakana. You could do the rabbanans for them. We saw that not everybody held like that. It's mashma from Chacham Ovadia that he held only a tinuk that needs food made for him, special food. That's the one you're allowed to do the rabbanans for. Others have different opinions in between, but there is something to speak about, especially a young child who can't really take care of themselves. The code of chol she'ein bo sakana, and when you need to, for whatever reason, do the rabbanans, you're allowed to do the rabbanan. You should do it with the shinui like the Ramban. Okay. Now, the topic that we left off with was what about medicine on Shabbat? Okay, so we saw that the Gemara, the Mishnah said that a person is not allowed to take medication on Shabbat. And the reason the Gemara gave was because we're worried that someone will grind spices and herbs and other medicinal ingredients in order to make medicine on Shabbat. And grinding is a malacha deoraita of Shabbat, and you can't do it. So that's why the Gemara said, and that's why the halacha is, you cannot take medication. Now, when the Shulchan Aruch brought this halacha down, the Shulchan Aruch said it's when someone has mild discomfort. Okay, Meichush, has a little headache. He has a little toothache. This is the person that cannot take, what did you say? Minor aches and pains. This is the person that cannot take the medication. Now, there was a big chiddush that we saw last week. The chiddush was from the Tzitz Eliezer. He was mechadish as follows. He said, this whole gezerah of I'm scared of you grinding the things to make medicine was for what type of medicine? Was for curative medicine. Medication that's meant to cure the person. Like we said, antibiotics, supposed to cure the person. Antivirals. Other such medications that are curative medications. But pain medications that are not curing anything, maybe the gezerah was never made on that. Now, we said the halacha, we don't rely on that opinion alone, but we rely on that opinion with other opinions. We make a tziruf. We combine leniencies, okay? We combine leniencies to maybe consider the person chayish remain sakana. We combine leniencies that, like Rav Kluger said, that it's only an issue when you're not cooking the medicine. When you're cooking it, that's no gezerah on that, right? Rehat Chomavadi said, perhaps today, like Rav Chaim said last week, perhaps today when no one's making medicine in their house, it's all made in the factory. Maybe the gezerah wouldn't apply, right? Maybe. So you have all these opinions to rely on, and therefore a person, so we said lahalacham, Chamabadia said, if someone is not just meichush, he's minor aches and pains, but he is mixat chayli, it's significant, it's bothersome, all right? It's really bothering him. He's not yet chaylish ein boy sakana, that he has to get to bed, but he's right in that place in between, okay? So Chamabadia said, in this place, you can rely on this tziruf of these other combinations and take painkillers if needed. All right. Right. Not always. Not always. Not always do we say that. It looks like over here we want to allow it. We want to allow it to some point, saying that the gezerah was on a specific thing and not on everything. Yeah.
To make the medicine,
right.
I'm making medicine.
Right. So maybe the gezerah is not taking medicine, but versus making medicine. I'm scared that if you take, you'll make. You know, so if I can get rid of that making, then maybe I can take it. Because the gezerah is not on taking. The gezerah is on making, right? So don't take because you might make, right? So if you can get rid of the making issue, so then you can take it. I think that's maybe one way to approach it. We then saw in the Gemara that if there's something that a person can eat or drink and it makes him healthy, right? For example, we said the vodka with the pepper and other things, right? The guy has a little cold, wants to take that. But it's something that's a normal thing, also somewhat normal for people to take, right? So that would also be okay to do on Shabbat, even though I'm taking it for health reasons. I want to take a Ricola candy. People eat Ricola candy all the time, just Stamazoi, right? Yeah. If it's medicated Ricola candies and it has a medication or other type of things, that might be an issue. But if it's something that most people are taking all the time anyways, and I'm just doing it for medicine, I'm having honey in my tea. Honey is honey. I'm having honey in my tea because my throat hurts. That's fine. Taking a raw egg, that's fine. Because all these things would be normal, somewhat of a normal procedure. So much so the Rashi said, even if it's somewhat normal, but somewhat dangerous for me, somewhat harmful for me, right? And I would only take it when I'm really sick, but still some people take it all the time, like the raw egg, right? The Chazanim take it, even though it's dangerous, the bacteria, whatever it is, it would still be allowed on Shabbat.
Well, what about vitamin?
So very good. All right, we're almost there. So we're reviewing from last week. We're almost up to vitamins. Two more things before we get up to vitamins. Well, one more thing. Okay. The next thing was continuing a regimen of medication. All right. We had the Gemara where this rabbi wasn't feeling well. He got advice, take a certain thing for 3 days. He took it on Thursday, Friday, and now it came Shabbat. Could he take it or not? And then the question wasn't, could I take it? Could I make it? Right? Or could I soak it? And it came out to be, lahalacha, we said, as a machloket over here, some say only if you don't take it, it's going to make a problem, right? But if you don't take it and not make a problem, then you shouldn't take it on Shabbat. But we said, Lamaisa, we hold, lahalacha for us, that once you started a medication, and it's a regimen of medication, whether it's antibiotics, whatever it is, once you took it before Shabbat, you can continue to take it. But Mordechai Eliyahu is of the opinion that if it's antibiotics and the first day is to take it on Shabbat, I could even take it on the first day on Shabbat, even if I didn't start it beforehand, because he's not looking at it as taking it on Shabbat, but rather looking at it as I need to take it for 10 days. So that's regarding medication that's taken before Shabbat. So you can continue taking it on Shabbat. Now, we're in the review, Rabbatai. If you have the books, you're on page 364.
What about prescribed creams?
Prescribed
creams, let's say pain creams.
Okay, what's the question?
Taking every day, it's okay to continue taking.
Right. So when it comes to creams, so we'll have to see.
Different.
The creams have an issue of smearing, right?
If they just dab it.
If it absorbs well into the skin, maybe that's not an issue. If it's just dab, also might not be an issue. But if it's medication that he needs to take every single day, as it's a regimen, then it would be okay to take if he follows these other conditions. Yes. Okay. Now, may a healthy person take medicine on Shabbat? And this comes the case of vitamins. Okay. There was a tour, and the tour said, if a person is not sick, but he's hungry or thirsty, and there's nothing else to eat but medicine, he can eat the medicine. That's what the tour said. The Bet Yosef said, even if he's not hungry or thirsty, he just wants to take it, right? He can take the medicine. The Torah said, if the guy's not sick and he's just hungry or thirsty and all he's got is medicine, he can take medicine. So the Bet Yosef says from here, we see here one who's not sick can take medicine for any purpose. He doesn't have to be hungry and thirsty. You just take it. The Magen Avraham says no. Taking medicine is forbidden unless he's completely healthy and he's just doing it for just because he's hungry. Otherwise, he cannot take it. So here comes the vitamins. What is vitamins, right? What is vitamins? Is it food? Here's another kula. The whole issue of taking medicine was curative, to cure the person. Taking vitamins usually don't cure the person, right? It says on the bottle, not intended to cure, if I remember the Lashon correctly, right? Not intended to cure, doesn't claim to cure. Vitamins, like Reb Chaim said, is preventative. It's not curative, right? And if I'm healthy and I just want to take vitamins to give me a boost, right? The Torah said I can take medicine if I'm healthy. So according to that approach, from Avadia and others, and Rav Moshe and others, Rav Moshe says it very clearly, only treatment of a negative condition is forbidden, that type of medicine. But preventative measure, such as taking vitamins, would be okay on Shabbat. Avadia agrees to that, and we all hold that taking vitamins is what's it called? Taking vitamins would be okay on Shabbat. Okay.
But he's going to make no vitamins in Shabbat.
What do you mean? Oh, no, we're not worried about that. There's no Gzeir on that. The Gzeir is only on curative, not on preventative medication.
He's missing vitamins.
The whole Gzeira was on curative, to treat something that's negative. To do something in the positive, preventative is not an issue. That's what we're saying. Okay, so now that we got up to here, now we get back in to where we were holding in the actual shear. So we're on page, right now, we're on page, I will tell you, page 352. Okay, so this is where we're holding. We said a chola she'ein bo sakana, a chola who is bedridden, but it's not life or death. We said we can do the rabbanan, right? And we can tell a guy to do whatever we need. Okay? So now, can the Chol Shein Bo Sakana take medications?
Ole.
Shein Bo Sakana.
Yeah.
The Gemara only said
Cannot take
that
it.
that a guy, you can tell a guy what to do for them. But can you give him medication? Can he
No.
take medication?
You cannot.
Why
So
not?
let's see.
Because he's still chole. You call him chole,
So
right?
then he could, you say.
You say chole.
She'ein bo sakana.
It means he's not gonna die, but he's still chole.
So can he take medicine or not?
I say no.
Yeah,
He says no.
yeah.
He says yes.
If
Okay. So
if
let's
he's a
take a look.
chole, he should have the medicine
Okay.
in order to be well. I mean, to keep
He-
living.
He's not life or death, but he's the chola.
No,
She'ein bo
but-
sakana. Okay.
right.
Let's take a look at the Shulchan Aruch. Take a look at source
Okay.
62. Says
Okay.
the Shulchan Aruch. The chol she'einu machal mashke briim. Anything that's not regular food for regular people. Asr la'achol v'lishtotol l'refuah. You're not allowed to eat it or drink it for refuah. V'davka, who is this for? Who is this not allowed to take it? Mi sheyesh le'meichush be'alma, v'hu mitchazek v'holach kibari. Someone only who is healthy. He has a little bit of ache. He's the only one that can't take medicine. He can walk around normally. If he doesn't have any sort of ache, mutter. And says the Ramah and the Haggah, right? And if he is considered a chol she'ein bo sakana, he's bedridden or he's very hard to walk around, he will be considered allowed to take medication. Okay?
Yeah.
So, like you were saying, very good. Now, the Bir Halacham wants to explain that this is not agreed by everybody. Some hold, like Reb Chaim, that what? Here, take a look at source 63. Eino muskam lekule alma. It's not agreed about everybody that if a person is a chol she'ein bo sakana, they're allowed to take medication. What's the proof? So Rami said before, what did Rami say? If you're allowed to tell a guy what to do, right? And you can even tell him to make medicine. And who's taking the medicine after the guy makes it? The Jew who's sick. So, and the Jew can do the rabbanons. So he can take the medicine. Why not? Right? What's the other side? The other side is when the non-Jew does it, there's a reminder, I'm not allowed to take medicines, I'm not allowed to grind stuff. I might come to grind the stuff. So therefore, the guy does it, it's a reminder of that gezerah. But if I do it myself, there's no reminder of the gezerah. So therefore, maybe you're not allowed to take medicine. That's the other side. But says the Mishnah Berurah, what can we do? Shulchan Aruch was matir it, and therefore, you can't tell anybody not to do it. Okay? And therefore, it is allowed to take medication for chola she'ein bo sakana. Okay, so comes out halacha l'maisa, like Rabbi Avram said, that a chola she'ein bo sakana is allowed to take medication. A chola sheyesh bo sakana is allowed to take medication. A bari, someone who's completely pure and healthy, right? Someone who's healthy also can take medication. The only person who cannot take medication is the meichush be'alma. All right. Now,
Is what?
someone who has minor aches and pains.
Okay.
Oh, that's the only guy who can't take a medication on Shabbat. Take a look at page 354, Rabotai. They made a beautiful chart in this book. A beautiful chart that goes through, can I do the oraitas? Can I do the oraitas with the shinui? Can I do the rabbanans? Can I do the rabbanans with the shinui? Can I tell a guy to do it? And can I take medication? And these are the different cases. If someone is a pekuach nefesh, he's a chola sheyesh bo sakana, everything is mutter. You can do the oraitas, you can do the rabbanans, you can tell a guy, you can take medications. Everything is mutar for a chola sheyesh bo sakana. This we know. What about sakanat ever? If the limb, a risk of limb loss, what can be done? So we saw that originally the Rush and the others thought that an aver, if you lose an aver, you won't die. All right. But we saw bismanenu that we learned that it's not really necessarily true. That what? It's like Tosfot's original opinion. Tosfot says that an aver is connected to the whole body. And today, the Nishmat Avraham and today's poskim saying that sakanat aver should be classified as pekuach nefesh. and therefore everything should be permitted. Okay, everything should be permitted for a sakanat ever, because the sakanat ever will lead to pekuach nefesh, and therefore you can do whatever is needed to save this guy for sakanat ever. Okay, the next case was now the chola she'ein boy sakana. He's sick, he's stuck in bed, but he's not dying. What can he do? So, according to everybody, you're not allowed to do malachot daraita for him. He's not allowed to do malachot daraita. You're not allowed to do malachot daraita for that person. What about telling a guy? That we said for sure yes. Right? Tell a guy. You can tell the guy to do malachos. What about the rabbanons? The Rashba lets you do the rabbanons. Ran says no, but we hold like the Ramban, like we mentioned before, that if you do it with the shinui, you can do the rabbanons. What about doing the oraitas with the shinui, making it the rabbanon? So the Eglei Tal and the Shulchan Aruch Harav, and would allow you to do biblical melachot, the oraita melachot with the shinui. And Chamabaji said, if you have no situation, you have no choice other than that, you would be allowed to rely on that kula of doing it the oraita with the shinui for a chola she'ein boy sakana in the place that's needed. Okay.
How about the Jews? How about the Jews doing it for you? Not a goy, a Jewish.
Right, that's what we're saying. So when it's a guy, they can do everything for the chola she'ein boy sakana.
Okay.
Everything, even the oraitas. When it's a Jew, the Jew can do dirabbanans, preferably do dirabbanans with the shinui.
Okay.
Like the Ramban. If he can't do it the shinui, he can do the rabbanans. And if there's no one else around and you have to do a deoraita, you can do a deoraita with the shinui as well. You have what to rely on.
Okay.
Okay. The next case was the guy who is has mehush. He is minor aches and minor pain. He's got a little headache, a little toothache, his hand aches, foot hurts a little bit, shtickle. Everything is just a little. Okay? This guy, look down the line in this chart, everything is forbidden. You know, I'll do no melachot d'oraita, no derabanan, no telling a guy, no taking medicine. Headache, right? Minor headache. A dilabating headache, right? Like a major minor headache that's put the guy out. That's a chol she'ein bo sakana. He's allowed to take medicine. Okay. Now, remember, in all of these cases, let's say the guy knows he's going to get a headache, or he did something, he didn't sleep well, and he knows he's going to get a headache. He can take Tylenol or whatever in advance. He's going to get migraine. So he can take medication beforehand, because what's going to happen? That's preventative. That's not a problem. The same thing with the guy who knows that after he eats his chulent or his oshusfa or his tadig, whatever it is, he gets heartburn, he should go and take the Tums before he eats it, right? This way, it's preventative, right? And therefore, he's allowed to take it. That's why he's allowed to take vitamin. Healthy person, obviously, you can't do any malachot, not the oraita, not the rabbanan. But what are you allowed to do as a healthy person? You're allowed to take medicine. I don't know why you would, but that means you're allowed to take vitamins and stuff like that. So this is a beautiful chart on page 354, a Geschmacke review of all the different categories and what is permissible and what is forbidden. On the next page, on 355, he brings here the Shmirat Shabbat.
Quick question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
What about preventing from getting it worse? Let's say it's you already have some kind of mild, but it's gonna get worse. The person knows themselves. It's still preventative though. To prevent, he knows that it might get you
give me like what, a headache or what?
A headache then becomes the pounding headaches, becomes a migraine later. Let's proceed.
So Chamabadia is of the opinion that if it's somewhat significant, right? Somewhat significant, meaning that you already at that stage, it's not anymore minor. It's already what we consider now a new stage called Miksat Choli, somewhat sick. He's not a Choli she'ein bo sakana yet. He's not bedridden, but he's not in that place where it doesn't bother him anymore. So at this place, you're allowed to take painkillers, because you have the Tzitz Eliezer who said that it's only curative medications that's the problem and not painkillers. You have Rav Kluger that boiled medications, cooked medications is also not the Gzera. You have the Shita of made in a factory is also not the Gzera. And so you have all these syrups. So if you're mixat choli, somewhat significant pain, you're allowed to take painkillers if necessary. Right? That was the other category of mixat choli. Very good. All right, you're listening. Now, page 355. Shmer Shabbat Kilchata wants to remind us of some halachot that are important to keep in mind when taking medicine on Shabbat. So he says, is allowed to take medicine on Shabbat, such as pills, syrups, and drops. He's allowed to mix it, such as hydrogen peroxide and water, in order to gargle with it. It's permitted. If one does not have the medicine at home and cannot obtain it from the neighbor, it is permitted to enter a pharmacy in order to obtain it, provided that when entering, one does not turn on any electrical appliance. Remember, you can't do malachot d'oraita, such as an alarm off and on. A Jewish doctor is not permitted to write a prescription, as biblical prohibitions are not relaxed. Similarly, one may not bring the medicine through a reshut harabim d'oraita. Okay, so remember, you can tell the guy to do all these things, but as a Jew, you cannot do any d'oraitas for a chola she'ein bo sakana. Now he writes, tearing the wrapping around the pill is permitted, but one should attempt to avoid tearing in a place with lettering. Now, we saw that the halacha for Sfaradim is we don't really mind ripping through the letters. We don't really mind ripping through the letters. I'll just read it really quickly over here. When opening a package of medication, it is permitted to rip the words on the packaging. However, it's preferable to be strict and rip around the letters. So when you're opening a package, you don't have to be careful and not rip the letters, but it's better if you are careful and don't rip the actual letters. But halacha, you're allowed to rip the letters if need be. Cutting a pill into 2 equal parts or to use only half is permitted. Permitted. And this doesn't violate the prohibition of cutting into measurements. It's not the malacha. I'm just cutting because I need to cut half the thing. Crumbling a pill, right? I want to crush it to dissolve it is also okay on Shabbat. But you shouldn't put it in a small amount of water because then you're going to make the malacha of lash. You're going to make a dough, all right? And you're not allowed to do that. So you have to make enough water that it doesn't become thick, that it's going to remain liquidy. Okay.
How about water and salt?
We went through that last time when we learned the halacha of that. What did we come out with? That you have to make it what's it called? It shouldn't be concentrated too much. Shouldn't be too much salt. It should be very little salt to water, right? We
But
did
that will cure if you have an egg pain, toothache.
Yeah, so you would still have to do it with a little bit of salt to water. Can't put too much salt, right? Because you have that malacha, right? One who suffers greatly from the lack of sleep is permitted to take sleeping pills. We saw that. We saw you're allowed to even take caffeine pills to give you a boost during the day. So all that would be permitted to do. Okay, now that we ended medications, we have one last topic before at 9:30, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll go into a little bit of a chizik for Rosh Hashanah. So let's try to get through this last topic over here as we come to the conclusion of volume 21. And just to mention, I already bought the volume 22, and volume 22 will be the last in the series for Hilchot Shabbat. There'll be more in the Tzurba and after that, but Hilchot Shabbat, the 7th volume, is volume 22, which will start after Rosh Hashanah, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, the last topic here, exercise and physical exertion. Can I exercise on Shabbat? One of the most common questions I get from youngsters all the time. Okay, Rabbi, I want to exercise. I exercise every morning. I run outside. I do this. I do that. Can I do it on Shabbat? Okay, so let's take a look. There is a Mishnah, the Mishnah Masechet Shabbat, that says, "Sachin mishin avalo mitamelin." One may smear oil and gently rub the skin, but one may not exert oneself. What does this mean? Lo mitamelin. You shouldn't exert yourself. So Rashi understands it that you're allowed to put oil on you, but you're not allowed to rub it vigorously. You're not allowed to rub it very hard. The Rambam understands it, right? Doing a very deep massage, maybe, or just rubbing it very hard because it's doing extra work. It's maybe an uvdin dechol and stuff like that. But let's just take a look at the Rambam. the Rambam says, what is meant by this mitamel? What is this? This means that others tread on the person's body forcefully, like the massage. They are breaking his back until he becomes exerted and perspires, or a person walks vigorously, right? He's doing a fast jog until he sweats. Exerting oneself until one perspires is forbidden on Shabbat, as it's medicine. It's considered refuah. So says the Rambam, an exercise that leads to what's it called? Sweat, perspiration, that is considered asr on Shabbat. It's considered refuah. Take a look at the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch in source 68 says, same thing as the Mishnah said. It said what? That you can put oil and you put it in such a way that you put it and you smear it right away, but you're not allowed to smear it with full koach. So he's saying like Rashi, and then he says in source 69, like the Rambam, he says, "Aim and tamilin what? Until he becomes exerted and he perspires." So the Shulchan Aruch brings down both, that you cannot put oil and vigorously rub it, and you cannot work out until you sweat. And the Bir Halacha says, how can the Shulchan Aruch hold of both? So that's just his question over here. Lehalacha. Okay, so take a look over here. He says that it appears to contradict himself by following the Rambam, since according to Rashi, rubbing oneself vigorously is forbidden even if one does not sweat. And then he's saying, like the Rambam, because it leads you to sweat. So which one is it? Is it because you're doing it vigorously, or is it leading you to sweat? Which one it is? That's the question of the Bir Halacha. The Shmirat Shabbat Kehilchata on page 358 says, the halacha is as follows. One may not exert oneself on Shabbat, nor may one use exercise equipment or engage in fitness activities using spring-fitted devices to strengthen the body's muscles, right? These are going to be considered obdin d'chol, weekday activities. They also make you cause a breakout in the sweat. It's going to be considered refuah, and therefore you're not allowed to use gym apparatus to work out on Shabbat. But performing simple hand exercises, even using simple tools designed for the hand, if it's simple enough, it's not big tools, it's not big things, and you're doing it, even if one does it in order to relieve or alleviate pain, it would be permissible. You're not sweating, you're not breaking out, and you're not using equipment that looks like you're doing weekday activities. One would be allowed to do that type of what's it called, workout on Shabbat.
What I mean, what relative thing? Sometimes exercise in the winter, and I do what I do in the summer, and I barely sweat. In the summer, the tiniest thing you sweat. I mean, it has to do with the.
I don't think it has to do with the climate. It has to do with the workout. If you would do the same workout in the winter and the summer indoors in a controlled environment, you wouldn't sweat. That seems to be okay. But the workout you would do it in a controlled environment that would cause you to sweat, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. It's your workout that causes the sweat. I think that's the way to look at it. He wants to say over here that people do not intentionally induce sweat for medical purposes, right? In the back in the day, the Rambam a lot of time talks about sweat takes out the disease, right? When you sweat it out, it perspires, the toxins come out. But today, we're not really using that as a therapeutic. So maybe it's not a problem.
Also, you are not making any semanim over here.
Right. But it's still refuah.
It's a refuah. Yeah, it's also to drink water. It's a refuah. You drink a lot of water, you become refuah. It's beautiful.
I agree with him.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Nowadays, there's a lot more doing the emotional aspect.
Okay.
Well, what's the difference?
Okay, so you guys ask well. You guys ask very well. Here's a question. Physical therapy. Okay? The guy has pain, whatever it was, and he has to work out every day. He has to move all his bones, otherwise he's going to be in pain. And
Sit on the floor, I have a backache.
right, sit on the
I
floor.
have to lift my leg and to hold it for a few seconds.
Right.
It's not going up and down, but it's like just to
So
get,
so can a person do that physical therapy? Can he do it in Yitzvah? Maybe he'll break out in a sweat while doing it, but he needs that, otherwise he won't feel well, right? So let's take a look one moment outside of the Tzurba.
kind of intense workout.
Right. It's not a workout, but I need this to function, right? So let's take a look what he says over here.
But there is another halacha says, don't do something Yom Chol in Shabbat.
Right, right. Okay. So he says as follows. I'm going to read for you over here. He says, some poskim ruled that it's forbidden to exercise on Shabbat. This is from the Yalkut Yosef. Some poskim ruled that it's forbidden to do exercise on Shabbat, even if the exercise does not cause one to work up a sweat, since this is a weekday activity. Rabbi Chaim said, workout is a weekday activity. Other poskim ruled that it's forbidden to exercise only when one plans to work out a sweat. Right? That's his lashon. He plans to work out a sweat. This is forbidden on Shabbat, since it's considered a medical treatment and is included in the general prohibition against all medical treatments, even though there's no grinding of the stomach, right? As long as the person does not intend to work up a sweat, it is permitted. All right? That's the psak of the Yalkut Yosef. As long as I do not plan to sweat, right? I'm not doing an exercise that's going to make me sweat. That's not my plan, right? Then I'm allowed to do that exercise.
So he's saying what the Rambam says.
Yeah.
The Rambam says.
Only when it's causing a sweat is the issue. No sweat, no issue, because the sweat is the refuah, and you can't do refuah. As long as you didn't sweat, or you're not planning to sweat, at least then there's no refuah, and one would be permitted to do that. Okay? So let's take a look at the next piece, Rabotai, page 359. There's a famous Gemara. I think everybody knows this Gemara because it's Masechtas Brachos and it's on Daf Vav. So if anyone who attempted Daf Yomi usually got up to Daf Vav. Okay? So, Amar Rav Zera. Zera says, Mireish, in the beginning, ki hava chazina l'rabbanon, the rahate lepirika b'shabbata. When I saw the rabbis running to the shir on Shabbat, says Rav Zera, I used to say, ka mechalin l'rabbanon shabbata. The rabbis are mechal Shabbos. They're running on Shabbos. You're not allowed to run on Shabbos. Kivan dishmana lahad Rabbi Tanchum, Amri Yeshua ben Levi. But once I heard this statement, le'olam yarutz adam ledavar halacha va'afil v'Shabbos. Shneimar acharei Hashem yelchu ke'aryeh yishad. Ananami rahitna. Now I also run, says Rab Zera. Okay, so I used to think you're not allowed to run on Shabbat because the pasuk says that your walking should be different. But when you're running to shul and you're running to the shir, you're allowed to run. You need to run. Says the Shulchan Aruch in source 74. Ein lerot v'Shabbat elim kein hu ledavar mitzvah. Regarding the Beit Knesset, oy ki yotzeboy. All right, so something davar mitzvah you're allowed to run to. And then says the Shulchan Aruch, young boys who enjoy jumping and running are permitted to do so. Mutter going on a walk. What about a power walk? I want to go on a power walk on Shabbat. Well, let's say I'm going on a walk because I want to do refuah. I know if I'm going to lay down after I eat, I'm going to have heartburn. But I know if I walk off the calories. I walk off this. Can I do that walk on Shabbat?
You could do it, but no sweating.
2 days Yom Tov Shabbat.
Right. So, Lamaisa, you could say it's like machal of a bari, of regular people take walks, right? I don't take a big walk. So I can take a walk also. It doesn't look like I'm doing exercise.
No, take a walk. You
Right?
need to get from one place to another.
No.
You walk.
I have this thing. After I eat, I like to take a walk around the block. It helps me digest.
Okay.
It helps me feel better. I'm not stuck in one place. I'm not going from the table to the couch right away. I at least go for a walk or something like that. So yeah, you let it go on a walk. Why would a person not be allowed to run on Shabbat? Because it says, and we darshan like your regular walking of a regular day. And in the regular day, a person is moher v'leroitz. He has to go after his business, and he's always jumping around, suah, psia, gasa, right? He's running around and everything like that. So therefore, on Shabbat, a person is not allowed to do that unless he's running for a dvar mitzvah.
When it means davar mitzvah, it means late to the mitzvah, or he's still running on, even if he's runs on time with walking, just walking.
You're talking about if he's late to shul,
Let's
right?
say coming
no.
coming back home from shul for kiddush, running
No,
through shul
no,
for the
that's not
minyan.
good.
Well, okay, so let me hear what Reb Chaim has to say. Say, Reb
Well,
Chaim, what do you want to say?
I'm saying he's running to shul because he feels so close to us and he wants to be in shul.
Right. The
He's
Shulchan
not.
Aruch-
He's
I hear
not
what you're
late.
saying.
He's
Shulchan Aruch
not
doesn't say
late.
that. Shulchan Aruch says imkain hu l'davar mitzvah.
Yeah,
So if you can
he's not
classify whatever you're about to do as a mitzvah, technically you'll be allowed to run. Okay, so you're allowed to run home after shul on Shabbat. Why? Shalom bayit, big mitzvah. The wife doesn't want to be home alone with the
but
kids for the
doesn't-
longest, so you're allowed to run home.
Doesn't look
Right?
good.
You're gonna go do kiddush and you're gonna make shalom bayit.
Doesn't
Here,
look
I'm out to you to run home after Shabbat.
Doesn't
No,
look
not right out of the shul. Yeah, take a few steps slowly and then run.
Oh, yeah.
But it's ledvar
some guys
mitzvah.
are running
Ledvar
after the shul.
mitzvah. Okay, you're allowed to run. You're allowed to run. Okay, that was the Shulchan Aruch over there. The Shmirat Shabbat tells us games that require running and jumping, tag and hide and seek, cops and robbers that children are playing. It's permitted. It's allowed to do. Kids are allowed to play those games. You don't have to stop the kids. They, like Shulchan Aruch said, if they enjoy it, they're allowed to do it. Young children playing the games of running around and stuff like that, it's okay. They're allowed to play that. You don't have to stop them, but they shouldn't do workout in order to sweat. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach wanted to argue that even if I do a physical exercise, if I enjoy it, maybe it's my Oynik Shabbos, maybe it should be permissible to do a physical exercise if I enjoy it. Again, halacha, l'maaseh, what do we say? As long as you're not breaking a sweat or planning a sweat, you're allowed to do that exercise if needed. So physical therapy and stuff like that would be permissible. Taking a walk would be permissible, and the stuff. The Mishnah Berurah ends over here for our shir. Even if one's purpose is to exercise and to warm the body for health reasons, it's permitted. Why? Right? Because nobody knows you're doing it for refuah. You're just walking, right? And therefore, it's like eating, cucumber when my stomach hurts or something like that. It's regular food, and it would be permissible. Let me just see. There's anything else I want to mention? Yeah.
So it's a Mishum Maritain or what?
No, there is no marathon when you take a walk. There's no marathon. You talk about an exercise in general? No. The exercise issue would be uvdin dechol, weekday activity, or refuah, sweating. That would be the issues. As long as you don't have either of those issues, you wouldn't have a problem. I just wanted to mention this, Rabotai, just because we're talking a little bit about health. There's an unfortunate mindset that I found amongst some people recently. We invite some people over for Shabbat, and they tell me, "Oh, I don't eat bread." I said, "Are you allergic? Do you have celiac disease or something like that?" "No, I'm trying to lose weight." It's very nice. They're trying to lose weight, but not on the expense of Shabbat. There is a halacha that you're supposed to have bread on Shabbat. So if you want to not diet from the bread, fine. Eat the minimum amount of bread. But you cannot skip hamotzi and bread because you're dieting. That's not permissible. Okay, so if people are doing this, and I find it more by the ladies than the men, but there are also some men like that, people have to instruct them that it's not correct. Person needs to eat the minimum amount of bread, and then they can diet for the rest. So every Suda should have the correct amount of and then the real question is, how do they eat it all? If there's a Kiddush Remakim Suda, they're not having Suda, they can't eat anything, right? Unless they make their own Kiddush, and this way they can eat, if they eat a revius of wine.
Is very small. I mean, it's not.
What's the minimum? So
most people probably think much more than
say kazayit, right? Was it 27 grams? Not a lot, right? If you want to, for Birkat Hamazon, if you ate 27 grams, you would not be allowed to say Al Netilat Yadayim. You can wash your hands without Al Netilat Yadayim, say Hamotzi and say Birkat Hamazon. If you want to do Al Netilat Yadayim, you have to plan to eat 54 grams. Okay, so you're talking anywhere between 27 and 54 grams, and you're telling me you can't eat that on Shabbat? Come on. So unless a person is sick and they can't eat it, that's a different story. But a person just stopped dieting. He brings us down over here. One must make sure only to eat enough bread to fulfill the mitzvah of eating Shabbat meals, and then he can diet away his rest of his things. Okay. Tam v'nishlam v'shevach le'el borei olam. We finished this volume 21. I want to spend now a few moments on a little bit on Rosh Hashanah. Okay, give me 1 second, and we're going to start. Okay,
Rosh Hashanah, Oman.
No Rosh Hashanah Uman, please. Okay. Okay, I will tell you. Rosh Hashanah. Rav Moshe Feinstein asks the question. He says, what do we call Rosh Hashanah in the Tefillah? We call it Yom HaZikaron, right? The day of remembrance. Who is remembering?
Yom
Who is
Adin.
remembering?
The people.
The
Yom Adin.
people. It's also known as Yom Adin, but we
Right.
say Yom HaZikaron. It's a day of
Right.
remembrance.
Each
Right.
person to remember.
So you're saying very good. So Rav Moshe says, most people say Yom HaZikaron means that Hashem remembers. Like we say in the Tefillah, Hashem remembers everything that happened the entire year, right? And everything that happened, everything that will happen, Hashem remembers. But says Rav Moshe, when we say on Sukkot, Zeman Simchatenu, right? We're talking about us. So what's the Zikaron? So says Rav Moshe, it's the people have to remember about Hashem on Rosh Hashanah. Our minds on Rosh Hashanah has to be a Rosh. We have to use our heads on Rosh Hashanah. We have to think properly. We have to remember about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I'm going to give you, Abutai, based on Rav David Sutton over here, he brings here mindsets for Rosh Hashanah. Here is now going to be some ideas that you have to keep in your mind for Rosh Hashanah. Number one, the big thing of Rosh Hashanah is Hashem is king, right? Not just singing Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, no, but actually knowing Hashem is king. This is the theme of Rosh Hashanah. What does it mean if Hashem is king? Then who am I?
I'm his servant.
I'm his servant. Very good. That means I'm his servant. Hashem is number one. Hashem is king, and I'm his servant. Now, why does this have to be in our minds? Because if you know Hashem is king and you keep him in front of your eyes, you're going to behave very differently, right? When someone more important is around you, you behave differently. If you know Hashem is right here, right? Then you're going to behave differently. Rosh Hashanah, you have to keep Hashem front and center of your thoughts. Okay, if Hashem is the king and we are servants, how do servants behave? Obedient, and what else? Are servants walking around as if they own the world?
No.
They're walking around
Tachanunim.
as anav, as humble. We have to be regular people, like everybody else. We stay out of the public in Rosh Hashanah. We're supposed to be humble on Rosh Hashanah. The shofar is supposed to be bent, right? Why? To show humbleness. What should you do? We say as follows. We say in the Tehillim, Hashem malach geut lavish. Hashem wears arrogance. Only Hashem wears arrogance. Who said this? Adam HaRishon. When? On the first day of creation. On Rosh Hashanah. Hashem wears the arrogance. We do not do anything. Everything that in this world, there's no arrogance by us. Why? Because whatever we accomplish, who gave us the koach to accomplish it? Kadosh Baruch Hu. So why are you walking around with your nose in the air as if I did something? Rosh Hashanah, Hashem is the king, I'm the servant, I didn't do anything. Everything came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These are the first two mindsets that you have to have in Rosh Hashanah. Hashem is king, I am his servant. Take opportunities to be humble on Rosh Hashanah. Talk to somebody who's not so important. Maybe you see somebody come to the shul, not so important. Not in shul, but after shul. Talk to the guy. Invite him. Spend some time. Be humble on Rosh Hashanah. Number 3, don't take anything for granted. People think that, that they have a lease, that they're just renewing the lease. There is no lease. You're not renewing no lease. Okay? Everything is brand new on Rosh Hashanah. It's either you get it or you don't. You know, all the people that are no longer around this year, after the whole year passed by, all these people's lease expired on Rosh Hashanah. Kadosh Baruch Hu said they're not going through the year. So we have to be careful over here, Rabotai. Furthermore, we don't control anything. When we come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah, do not come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, God, this year I gave 36 shiurim in Hilchot Shabbat. Now, give me something. You say that, you're going to lose completely. Okay? Because, first of all, whatever we did, Hashem did it, number one. Number two, we probably didn't even do it so good, right? It's like the Dibn Maggid says, there was this rich man, and his son was watching him that day. And his son saw how everybody came to his father, and his father was giving them $100 bills, $200, $500 bills based on what they were saying. One guy came and said, I'm going to sell pencils. So he said, how much is a pencil? He said, $10. So the Gevir took 4 pencils, $40. So at the end of the day, the son asked this father, why everybody gave $100, $500, and this guy, you gave him $40? He said, everybody else came and said, please give me something. I don't have anything. So I felt bad for them. I'm a good guy. I gave them. This guy wanted to sell pencils. So I bought his pencils for $40. That's what they were worth. They weren't even worth $40. Same thing. We don't come to Kadosh Baruch Hu and say, God, we did this, 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 and this, and this. No. Kadosh Baruch Hu, I did nothing. Everything's from you. Please give me from your storehouse. You say that, Kadosh Baruch Hu comes and gives you everything. Because Hashem's storehouse of tzedakah is the most. So don't think I did anything. Kadosh Baruch Hu, I need you to give me. We're not asking for a raise on Rosh Hashanah. We're asking, we're asking for life. We're not asking to extend the lease. There is no lease, Rabotai. We're coming. It's like we're coming to ask for a raise on the day you're getting fired. That's what it is, Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so you don't ask for a raise. you don't play the card. Oh, I'm good. I did these things. Next, I know we're not going to get through everything I want to get through, but we have 4 more minutes. Let's see what we can get. We have to appreciate everything we have. In the Shofar B'Tzion over here, Chacham B'Tzion Mutzafi said that on Erev Rosh Hashanah, here's a big school, Rabotai. He writes over here, Shehevi Divrei HaMekubal HaChassid, Rabbeinu David Shiriro, Zecher Tzadik Bracha, Shekatab, Shizahir HaAdam, Likro Be'erev Rosh Hashanah, Bechumash, Be'pasuk, V'haya Kitavo, Ad V'hagir Asher B'kirbecha. Read the first 10 psukim of Parashat Kitavo on Erev Rosh Hashanah. That means tomorrow morning, you want to read the first 10 psukim of Kitavo. Why? Hashem says in the Rekia, this guy, I forgive him from all his obligations, everything he did wrong. All his sins are forgiven. Why? Doesn't explain it here, but the idea is, Rabotai, is that what's Parshat Kitavo? Parshat Kitavo is the Parshat of Bikurim. What do you do in Bikurim? You say thank you. When you say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you appreciate what you have. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, here, take more. Right? But if you don't appreciate and you just come and say, give me more, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shalom is not going to want to give you anything. When David HaMelech cut Shaul's beged, did the beged help him? Afterwards, when he was old and no. He remained cold, right? If a person doesn't appreciate what he has, it won't help him. Here's 2 things that people unfortunately don't appreciate. Davening and the shul that they're davening in. They make a joke out of it. They play around in there. They don't play correctly. They bring their kids, let them run around as if it's a daycare. They do all these different things. And then they want it to help. If you don't appreciate what you have, that things won't help you. And we'll end, Abutai, with a final story that we've said in the past, but I think we'll put some stuff in perspective. The story of the grandmother, the babushka, that wanted to make some money in the streets of Manhattan. And she decided she was going to sell hot pretzels. So she opened up a cart, and she put a bunch of hot pretzels there. And she put a big sign that said 50 cents for a hot pretzel. And there was a law firm over there, and there was a lawyer there, a Jewish guy, that, didn't have a need for the pretzel, but he felt bad for the lady. Every morning, he gave her 50 cents. Every morning. Walks by, 50 cents, 50 cents, 50 cents, 50 cents. Whole year passes by. After a whole year, he comes, he puts 50 cents, and she says, stop. And he doesn't want to explain to her, I'm doing it because I feel bad for you and stuff like that. So he starts to run. And this grandma starts to run after him. So fast. He's unbelievably, she stops, she catches him. And he says, okay, I'll tell you. I really feel bad for you. So I'm just doing tzedakah, charity. I'm giving you 50 cents every day. He says, no, that's not why I'm stopping you. I'm stopping you to tell you I raised the price to $1. All right, and this chas v'shalom Rabotai is what people do in Rosh Hashanah. They never said thank you to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. They didn't say Hakadosh Baruch Hu, thank you for 50 cents every year that you gave me. Now all of a sudden, I need a Lamborghini. Now I need a 5,000 square foot house. Now I need this. Now I need that. Rabotai, the first thing is to say Todah. Todah Hakadosh Baruch Hu for everything that I have. That we made it through the year. Rabotai, a lot of people we know did not make it through the year. On Rosh Hashanah, it didn't happen. You know, Rav Chaim Sonnenfeld, Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, he once, one of his grandchildren told him, I want to get married this year. And Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld told him, no, you can't get married. He was already like 20-something years old. He said to his grandfather, why not? He said, I forgot you were a marriageable age. And in Rosh Hashanah, I did not daven for you to get married. So therefore, I'm scared if you get married, it's not going to be the right shidduch. Can't get married this year. Wait till next year, Rosh Hashanah, I'll daven for you. Okay? That's how far it goes. He said, I don't get married. I didn't daven for you Rosh Hashanah to get married. So I'm scared that this shidduch's not going to work out. Let me come to Rosh Hashanah again. Let me daven for you to get married. And then you're going to get married. Just how powerful Rosh Hashanah is. Person has to keep these mindsets in place. At the Rosh Hashanah, we'll go through some more mindsets that we have. Okay, Rabotai. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.